What's up, your boy for another reaction? In today's video, we have the Slow Death of WWE TV by Deontay DDJ. Make sure like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. Angala, Angala, Kante, Angala, Angala, Kante.
WWE TV felt like you were missing. There was a time when missing an episode of weekly WWE TV felt like you were missing history. Moments happened live, stories evolved weekly, and if you weren't watching, you were missing out. Debuts, returns, and
Yeah, facts. That shit was peak TV. I ain't gonna lie, niggas was watching this shit over football.
title changes coupled with big moments actually happening on weekly TV as well as pay-per-view. But unfortunately nowadays, you can miss an entire month of WWE programming, maybe watch a few clips on TikTok or YouTube or Twitter, and you've basically missed nothing new. When you zoom out, it's easy to notice most weekly shows follow the same formulaic execution. You can always bank on a WWE show in recent times opening with a shot of the city they're in, the theme song quietly playing in the background, shots of stars.
Why do they do entrances? Why do they do that shit? That shit fry me. Like, yay. These niggas not no NBA players. Like, what the
arriving to the building, and then the now repetitive trope of the opening promo on every Raw and SmackDown, along with the now repetitive trope of damn near every show in recent years ending with a brawl of some sort. While I wouldn't mind this every now and then because I know plots need to be progressed, and at the end of the day, this is sports entertainment, at least in the WWE sense. However, I hate that there can't just be a mix-up in the pacing. And you know what, for a long time, I wasn't sure if it was just me being pessimistic and negative, maybe I'm just being overly hateful, but I'm not the only one that feels this way. I just wish WWE sometimes would take a note from AEW's playbook and just begin with in-ring action. I wish they were less afraid to mix up the pacing of this show. We've just seen it all before. You can expect the same catchphrases, the same cadence, the same timed interruptions.
I'm gonna take back my title I never lost, yeah. I respect you, Cody.
Which eventually leads to a match either imminently or at the end of the show, even down to the minute detail of a star letting the crowd chant and then hitting a line, letting the crowd chant some more and then continuing on. And again, I understand how pro wrestling works. Some of these things are just common tropes, but that doesn't mean we can't mix it up a little bit more. Nobody, not even the top stars on these shows like Roman Reigns, CM Punk, or Seth Rollins have any unique nature to their promos anymore. Everyone falls into the same formula under the same umbrella.
Welcome to Monday Night Rollins. It's great to be alive on a Monday night in Insert City here. Insert City here. Acknowledge me.
It's just played out. Even Becky Lynch saying,
Welcome to the big time.
and just trying to slot it in there. It's like, come on. A lot of stars have lost the unique nature of being able to cut compelling promos because most of them fall under the same pattern. They're more mainstream than ever, and yet, weekly TV feels less important than it ever has. And this isn't just about one bad episode, because don't get me wrong, these shows still have some entertaining moments, they do. This is about a WWE that has slowly trained its own audience to stop caring. Now let's factor in the biggest game changer of them all, modern content consumption. WWE doesn't just broadcast TV anymore, they distribute highlights instantly. They upload full promos on YouTube, match finishes on the timeline, clips on social media within seconds, and they're optimized perfectly. They're short, they're engaging, they're straight to the point. So now the fan experience looks entirely different. Instead of watching 3 hours of Raw, you can watch one promo, two key
Yeah, why that shit 3 hours? Like, that shit should be 2 hours, bro. Ain't nobody watching no 3 hours of assness.
clips, a finish in under 10 minutes. Or if you're culturally inclined, you can watch Deontay DDJ's Raw highlights to get all the details and footage in one concise package.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I'll be watching you and CJX.
But
Who put that in the script?
But psychologically, this all became the new normal. Because once fans realized that they can get 90% of the value in 10% of the time, there was no going back. So WWE didn't lose relevance by accident. There are many moments and trends you can point to overall that made fans stop watching, but they also adapted their business model. And in doing so, WWE has retrained their core audience. Fans have learned that you can miss shows and you won't fall behind. The important stuff will find your For You page through clips, through highlights, through social media. So weekly WWE
The fuck she slept? Cody for what the fuck? What the fuck he do?
TV became optional. It was no longer essential and everybody knows it. In the late 90s and 2000s, WWE mastered something most modern TV shows struggle with. It had urgency. Damn near every episode of Raw felt like it mattered, and not because every match was a classic, but because every segment felt like it was moving something forward. Look at Stone Cold Steve Austin, for example. His story wasn't told in isolated moments or delayed for the next PLE. They didn't have to go ahead and put an announcement out on MSN that Stone Cold was returning because he hadn't been seen in 3 weeks. It unfolded week by week. He gets arrested, he shows up anyway like Stone Cold would. He gets fired, he returns the next week to continue the story. He gets screwed over, he retaliates immediately. It was constant escalation in line with his character, and it all made you care.
That boy Stone Cold Fitz was hard too. Hang on.
Same with The Rock. His promos weren't just entertaining, but they changed the direction of these feuds. And that's the key difference. Weekly WWE TV wasn't just supporting the story, it was the story. Pay-per-views were the payoff, but TV was where everything could actually have still happened. See countless moments over the years where historic moments have happened on Monday Night Raw. And then compare that to the last couple of years. Even the PLEs on ESPN are lacking substance and time. Take a look at the most recent PLE match cards. Currently, there's smaller match quantity than ever before, with a higher bill than ever before, and there's far more commercials but less content. In fact, in a mind-blowing stat, even with less matches, recent pay-per-view Backlash had more in-ring action than both nights of WrestleMania Night 1 and 2 combined. Hulk Hogan documentary and We'll Be Right Back Netflix screens, though, through the roof.
Say what you will about the long length of an AEW pay-per-view, but at least you get your money's worth.
Honestly, I think it's safe to say that this current WWE product leaves you feeling like you need therapy sometimes. As WWE moved into the late 2000s, the philosophy started to shift. Instead of progressing every week, we got extensions. Feuds stopped evolving and started looping. You'd see the same match 3 weeks in a row, a distraction finish, a tag match variation, a promo segment or a contract signing, and then the actual match at the pay-per-view. Over and over and over again. Gone were the days where impromptu shocking title changes could happen at any time. Now we barely get the
Yeah. Why these niggas so scared to pull the trigger on the new niggas and get a new niggas the title and shit? Like, what the fuck? What's up with that? Like, AEW took a fucking chance at Darby Allin. Like, why these niggas refuse to give the new niggas the titles? Like, Oprah Femi should be in a rivalry with Roman right now, right after the Brock Lesnar shit. Like,
champions wrestling on weekly TV, and I ask, what's up with that? Why has it become so normalized for a lot of these top guys to just barely show up? All of this
and barely defend a title.
structure trickled down into every feud and every belt in the modern day, and once fans realized that, they subconsciously learned that they don't need to watch this consistently anymore, especially with the rise of modern day social media. Then in July 2012, WWE made one of the most impactful decisions in its history. Monday Night Raw became 3 hours long every single week, and on paper it made sense. There was more ad revenue, more exposure, more content, and more wrestling and superstars.
Bad in a bit.
But creatively, it broke the system, because now we had a creative team that simply put did not have the facilities for that big man. And instead of leaving people wanting more at the end of an action-packed 2 hours, you're now sitting there in the third hour wondering if there is such a thing as too much wrestling. Promos went longer and became the same, matches meant less, and recaps became constant. And then later on in this era, you would start seeing those 20-minute opening promos that say very little, like the Authority era, matches with no stakes, segments that exist purely to fill time, and randomly thrown together matches and cringe comedy. And most importantly, you get dead space. And dead space kills urgency and must-watch television. Because if people felt like there was nothing happening or nothing important going on, and nobody important is gonna show up, then they stop paying attention. And over time, this has trickled down into most weekly episodes meaning so little. As the product evolved into the 2010s, WWE leaned more into moments over consistency. Instead of making every show matter and putting time into a creative build, they focused on specific moments like a return, a debut, a shocking twist. And it's not as if I'm making this up either. How many times have we heard various commentators over the years go ahead and say things like, "This is a moment, WrestleMania moment, this is a moment, guys," just in case you sitting at home, the apparently stupid fucking audience, can't understand that this is a moment. There's no subtlety anymore. In fact, I think I've said it before, but most of the time watching WWE feels like I'm living the high of one return moment or debut to the next. Sure, you occasionally get Penta balling out or someone having a great weekly TV match, but most times it isn't the focus of what at the end of the day is a wrestling show, or at least it once was. And even in saying that, it's not as if WWE hasn't ever proven that they can combine the great pro wrestling with the storylines to give you an overall show. And it's a bigger argument for another day, but I look at the Ruthless Aggression era.
Man, I like them old, but that title one of that's probably my favorite WWE title. That bitch so hard. Ain't that the Undisputed, I think?
As the best example of when WWE nailed that concept. You had great professional wrestling, but storylines that you actually cared about as well. Nowadays, it feels like the pro wrestling is supplementary to the entertainment and storylines in WWE. I wish WWE would be less scared of progressing feuds through matches rather than around them. Furthermore, something else that absolutely killed the momentum of weekly WWE television is part-time champions. You can see this clearly in the Roman Reigns Bloodline saga.
What the fuck was Sami Zayn doing with the Bloodline? Like, what the fuck?
Even in the days where Brock Lesnar held the title hostage. In both examples, the weekly program suffered. While big moments may have happened when they finally showed up again, without them there week to week, subplots had to be built towards their next appearance, and championships were only defended on pay-per-view. And even in Roman's case, they had to bring back the big gold World Heavyweight Championship, since the WWE Championship and the former Universal Championship was so Bloodline story-coded. Although I will say the Bloodline story is one of the greatest long-term stories WWE has ever told, and I'm certainly not taking away from that.
And I did go ahead and make a retrospective about it not too long ago. Cheap plug, go check it out.
But here's the thing, Roman didn't appear every week, and when he didn't, the show felt like it was waiting for him, which created a weird dynamic because the biggest storyline in the company actually made weekly TV feel less important, because everybody knew the real stuff only happened when he showed up. Real progression was only going to happen when you saw that Roman Reigns returns graphic. WWE has used part-time attractions for years, but the difference now is that it's baked into the system. In fact, most times it is the system. It's become the norm for top stars to not be on weekly television sometimes, and not just that, but a lot of these top stars don't even wrestle on the weekly show. Instead of wrestling on this wrestling show in this wrestling company, there is just a whole lot of yap. In fact, most of the Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns feud, which originally started quite interesting to me, has gone the way of a lot of those main event feuds where it turns into promo and brawl and promo and brawl and promo and brawl and promo.
Yeah, how many times are these Jacob Fatu and Roman gonna brawl?
It feels like a lot of the time people that are in a Roman Reigns feud also don't get to wrestle regularly anymore. And all of this changes viewer behavior, because if the biggest stars aren't wrestling weekly, aren't appearing weekly, and aren't advancing stories weekly, then what's the incentive for the average Joe to watch weekly? It's all well and good having Roman show up every week right now, but if he's only going to cut promos and the same material and never wrestle, you're now devaluing him and his allure. We now have a hierarchy where big moments matter, PLEs only kinda matter sometimes, but all the in-between really doesn't. And even though we are very void of having a WWE draft right now, whenever we get another one of those, it usually leads to a soft or hard reset that ends up getting you back into the product again, because now things have been shaken up again. And I think that is also a part of the reason why weekly shows feel the same, because a lot of these rosters have been damn near the same for a couple of years now. Is that it's not as if this hasn't happened before, it has. We've had eras throughout the 2010s, throughout the 2000s, where weekly TV gets to a point where it is just dreadful, and usually that's where something like the Superstar Shakeup or the draft comes into play, and we shake things up, and we have a bit of a hard or soft reset, and that's great. But I think right now, WWE is doing themselves a disservice at not mixing things up a little bit. Like, it has been way too long since we had the draft, and I think the draft over the years, I'm slowly realizing that it really helps you as a viewer get distracted from the fact that there are so many tropes and common themes in professional wrestling, because at least now we're mixing up the superstar roster, we're mixing up new storylines. But I think seeing the same execution, the same shots, the same promos, the same themes, it certainly is time to shake things up around here.
Oh, so you want
There was a
another
time when
draft? That's what you're basically trying to say. You want another WWE draft? Michelle comes to show how deuces.